clapping it in. Get a good stretch in a bend. What am I doing? I don't need these headphones. We're going to be attacking animation today. We're going to use Premiere Pro and maybe a little bit of Adobe Firefly. And definitely we're using a little bit of Photoshop. I know this is a rough subject, but we're going to cover a basic primer on how to begin. We're all set. We're going to go to Premiere Pro. Come on, microphone. Come along, microphone. Okay, click on Premiere Pro. Mine's not wanting to open right now. Brand spanking new project. Go to new project. We're going to call this Real Animation. We're going to go to create. So first things first, go grab some PNGs. You can go to Google Images or you can create some in Photoshop if you want. I've already got mine done. If I didn't have these done already, this tutorial would be way too long. So we're going to go down here to the media area. We're going to go right click. We're going to go import. And here are my character PNGs right here. I've got Joe, Shane, and Theo. We're going to highlight all of them and open. What's a good background for these guys to be hanging out in? Let's go down here to Adobe Firefly. Let's see how many credits I have left. I have a ton of credits, I think. Dude, the credits will last you forever, so don't even worry about using them up. Every time you hit generate, it takes up a certain amount of credits, of which I'm not sure. Okay, perfect. It's the 11th. I've got until the 15th, I believe. And I still have half my credits left, so they last forever. If you want to try out Adobe, I think it's free. If you click my link, there's a link in the description. It should be free to start for like 30 days. And then if you want to join, you can, but you don't have to. But click the link if you want to check it out. Best editing program out there. Okay, we're going to generate a background. What's a good background for these guys to be hanging out in? Magical forest, waterfall in the background, and prehistoric birds flying around. Generate. So we're going to work on making a background first. I want to have all my PNGs basically in order before I really begin to animate them. No, I don't like that at all. We're going to go more photo. We're going to change this to landscape mode. That's way too many birds. We're going to go, we'll get rid of the bird part and we'll hit generate again. Kind of like this one with the sun. More options, click download. I always download everything into the same folder. I say that in every video. And let's just hit generate again. Okay, come on. Okay, nothing special. Okay, let's go to Photoshop. Do a little surgery on these images first, and then we'll begin animating. Sweatshirt's too big, lost too much weight. New file, 1920 by 1080 since this is for YouTube. Create, file, open on your computer. First of all, let's do the forest scene. It appears in the layers panel down here. Grab it and bring it up to your project. Look at how nice and beautifully big it is. We're gonna go back down here to the layer we just moved in. We're gonna right click on that, go to convert to smart object. That way, if we make it smaller and bigger again, it's not gonna lose quality every time. We're moving that with the move tool. We're gonna hold shift and pull down on one of these resize bars and let's center it. Now we're gonna use generative fill to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. That way we can scroll through the scene as the animation is happening. I'm excited. Let's go. Okay, make sure you clicked on your layer. We're gonna go to the rectangular marquee tool and we're gonna select right side of the image and then we're gonna pull that past the image and cover up this whole checkerboard section right here. We're gonna hit generative fill, hit generate. Beautiful, cuz. Respect the schmear. Still clicked on the layer here. We're gonna hit the rectangular marquee tool. We're gonna grab some of the image plus the checkerboard right over here. Select all that. Generative fill. Now, when you click generative fill, that's going to allow the AI to realize what area you're working with and then hit generate here in the contextual task bar. By the way, if you don't have the contextual task bar out right here, it's easy to do. Hit window and just go down to contextual task bar right here. It's grayed out for me since it's thinking right now, but Windows, contextual task bar. Now it's off. Windows, contextual task bar. Now it's on. That's not too bad. Now, when you click generate, the nice thing about it is that you've got 3 variations to choose from over here on the right-hand side. Do we like this one? Do we like that one? That one's clearly better. Or do we like that one right there? Extra. I don't want it too busy though, but we like the sense of depth. Okay, we're gonna choose that one on the right. So now that we've got those 3 sections that we just think are amazing, click on one of your generative fill layers, hold shift, very important to hold shift to add to the selection. Go there to the second generative fill layer and then continue holding shift and click on your main layer. So now they're all 3 selected, right click and Merge layers. Merging layers is very important because generative fill will get super confused. It'll start incorporating stuff from other layers that have nothing to do with your object. Now let's make this even bigger, and I'm gonna try and explain it a little more closely when we do it this time. Generative fill, that's the whole image. Let me prove it to you by turning the visibility on and off. Now that's all one image. We're gonna go up here to the Move tool. Let's go right click, convert to smart object. Converting to smart object just gives you more options. If you want to make the image smaller and then you decide you want to make it bigger again, if you don't make it into a smart object, it will lose quality, and quite a bit of quality. Just to keep my future options open, I like to use convert to smart object a lot. Now that I've blabbed about it for 20 minutes, I can't remember if I converted it to a smart object or not. One layer. So now it's a smart object, so we can resize at will. So we're gonna hold shift. Let's get nice and big on it. We're gonna hold shift and we're gonna pull down on one of these resize handles. We can do about right here. Let's make that image be right in the middle. You can see the purple lines when it's perfectly lined up with the cross. By the way, if you want to show rule of thirds, faint lines on the side, you can do that by going to View and Extras. You can turn that on and off. View, Extras. We're going to make sure our layer is clicked. We're going to go up here to Rectangular Marquee tool. We're going to make sure we select some of the image. Actually, we can probably just do this in two pieces. So we're going to grab, let's see what happens if we try and do it in just one piece. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but your layer is selected. Rectangular Marquee tool. Let's select the whole entire thing. So now your marching ants are all around the outside. Click Generative Fill in your Contextual Task Bar. Click Generate. Nope, that's a fail. Let's delete that layer completely. We have to do them one at a time. We're clicked on our layer, Rectangular Marquee tool. We're going to make sure we've selected part of that image on the right-hand side and then select the rest of the checkerboard. Generative Fill, Generate. Look at how beautiful that is. Same process on the other side. Make sure we're clicked on our layer, Rectangular Marquee tool. Let's go ahead and grab that. Generative Fill, click Generate. Oh my God, that's lovely. That seems more accurate. So we've done that, and we're gonna click back on our original layer. Now you see we've got these two spaces right here. I purposely did those one at a time to show you you can either do them one at a time or you can do them step by step by step. Now we're gonna fill in these last two parts in one step. So again, we're clicked on our main layer, up here to Rectangular Marquee tool. Make sure you're grabbing part of the image there and select all of that. Now you've got the marching ants here, but we've also got this part on the bottom here. Again, what we're gonna do is accomplish this in one step instead of two steps here. So we've got the marching ants selected right here. We're going to hold shift. That is very key. Gotta hold shift. We're gonna add to the selection, hold shift, and we're going to grab this part with part of the image as well. So now Generative Fill knows these marching ants parts right here. It's going to be filling in both of those. Hit Generative Fill, click Generate. Okay, let's grab all of our images down here in the bottom. We're going to click the top one, then hold Shift, click all of them. Oops, there's one more right there. Make sure they're all merged. Right click, Merge Layers, File, Export As, Export, Enlarged. I've already got the three characters I want to work with here imported like I showed you at the beginning. We're going to go right click, Import, and we're going to go into the same folder which I save everything in, video and audio. We've got our two that we just made right here. We're going to click on one of them and then control click the other one. Then we're going to hit open. So now these are right here. If you want to keep this area organized, I highly recommend using the bin system. Create a new bin by touching this folder button right here, and we'll call this one backgrounds. And we're going to just slide those in to that one to keep it organized. And we're going to call this one characters. So we'll slide our three boys down here into that one. So you see here it says drag media to create sequence. Just to be safe, let's create a new sequence. So there aren't any settings left over from what I was doing before. Control N to make a new sequence. Just to keep it simple, we don't need to do 4K for this. So let's do 1920 by 1080, boys animation. If you guys want more settings for Premiere Pro, let me know and I'll do a video on it. So we've got our timeline here. So we know we're gonna need to work with our background first. Let's start them out in the magical forest. So we're just gonna pull that over here into our timeline. We're gonna hit plus to extend it or to make the timeline bigger. And actually let's grab the picture at the end there and just extend it for, how long is our animation gonna be? Maybe 30 seconds. Let's extend that out to, I'm gonna put 30 seconds here in the timeline thingy, so just so I can be precise. Okay, so right there, we'll cut the rest of that. We'll just make it 30 seconds. So we're gonna start out with our characters walking, right? Right now, this is the size of our canvas, but we made it bigger. We know what it's gonna look like when we enlarge it because we did it ourselves. First things first, we're at 100% scale right now. Let's go ahead and, oh, before we get started animating, I always like to do right click, scale the frame size. Let's use transform instead. I like the motion blur on it. Transform, so type transform into the effects, pull transform onto this. So we're gonna have our characters come walking into here, messing around, walking through the forest. We've already pulled transform effect onto this layer. Let's scale it up to 150. Okay, that's good. To create the illusion of walking, let's have our characters come in from the left-hand side. So let's flip it horizontally. We're gonna type horizontal flip into the effects panel. We're gonna grab horizontal flip, and we're gonna flip it around. If they're coming in from the left side, that means the background has to move from the right side to the left to add to the illusion of walking. So we're gonna position this farther over in the transform panel, just to the very edge right here. Click the stopwatch by position, scale, and we never know, we might use skew later, we might use rotation later. So let's just click them so they're ready to go. Unclick use compositions shutter angle, and we're gonna add our own shutter angle, which is pretty much always 360 to get a nice motion blur effect. So we're gonna resize that down. So we've got all of our keyframes ready to go. You can tell by the fact that the stopwatches are blue. Don't let this confuse you. It gets a little bit confusing when you're first starting, but once you understand how the stopwatches work, it'll work. So we've got this in our desired position. We've hit all of our keyframes. We know because they're blue. So by the time it gets to about 15 seconds, let's do it precise again by typing in the timeline thing here. So by the time we get to 15 seconds, boom, which is right there, that is when the background forest is gonna be done moving, if that makes sense. So the forest is gonna move from this side to that side, and the boys are gonna come in from this side and go that way. So we're at 15 seconds, we'll be done with this scene and we'll be ready to move on the volcano. So let's position this. Keep going we're in the transform right now. We are not in the motion area right now. We're down here on the transform effect that we pulled on. In the position, on the position line, we're gonna make this move all the way over till let's make it till we're just about right there. If you want to adjust that more precisely, you can hold Control to do it very slowly. It'll be at the 10th of the speed. Okay, now let's see if that's working for us. Okay, the boys are coming in, the boys are coming in, the boys are coming in. So far, we've only worked with the position keyframes, so let's right-click on that first one. We'll go to Temporal Interpolation. We'll do Ease Out. It'll make the animation a lot smoother. Right-click on the second keyframe that we just added and do Ease In. So I don't know if you'll be able to tell the difference. Okay, that's just my computer having trouble rendering it. It'll be fine. Oh, speaking of which, here's a nice clue for you. If you have an old computer like me and you're having trouble with playback, let's make that smaller so it doesn't have to render as much stuff. Go up here to View, go down to Playback Resolution, and put it on. I try to put it on the lowest one that'll let me, so it's always on 14%, unless there's something that I need to see very clearly. Put your playback resolution as low as you can. And any of the panels that you're not using, close them. You can always reopen them via the Windows button. Okay, so let's see that again. It's shaking right now, but I think that's just because of the rendering. Boink, and it gets to 15. Okay, perfect. Now let's get into the fun stuff now. We're gonna do our characters. So how are we gonna do this? Let's drag Joe onto our clip. So they're gonna come in fact, let's scale him down to 50%. That fits. We're gonna move him all the way over here to the left-hand side. And just to kind of show you how this works, get to the left-hand side of your image, click position and scale. Then we'll just go all the way to the end of that. Oops. We'll go all the way to the end of that image and then back click 1. And by that point, oops, I'm on the wrong layer. Control Z. By that point, we want him to be about right there. So let's go back and test it. Hit the left. Okay, right now he's going to be sliding in here. Let's extend that out all the way to the end of our forest. Extend the image we're working with right here. Boom. Okay. So now you know how it works. Let's go back, make sure we're clicked on our Joe layer. Let's delete all those keyframes. Let's position, scale, reset everything. You can delete those keyframes by just, I guess I didn't need the extra step of deleting the keyframes. Just hit the stopwatch, hit delete. You know, this action will delete existing keyframes. Do you want to continue? Yes. Okay, so this is the original position of the image that we're working with right now. Let's just do the whole thing again, just for exercise. We're gonna click scale, we're gonna go 50%, hit enter. We're going to use the position scaler here in the motion tab underneath video and effects controls. Let's put him all the way over here, almost off camera, but not quite. We wanna see just a little bit of his body, just a little bit of his body. Otherwise Premiere Pro will get confused. So that's good, just his arm right here. Okay. So now he's in the initial position we want at the very beginning of the frame. To make Premiere Pro remember that he's going to start out there, just a little bit showing on the left of the frame, we're going to click position and scale because we will probably scale him up a little bit by the time he gets to his spot. So I've extended this out to 15 seconds. So just to get us to the end of this PNG, this image that we just put on the side here, we're going to click down and then we're going to go left click 1 and make sure we're still highlighted on our layer. Now we're going to go up here to the position and you see where it says -66 right here. We're going to move this all the way over to the right. Keep going until he's going to be the first one off probably. So we'll put him like that. So just a little bit of his arm is showing. So let's go to the beginning, hit spacebar to play. We'll make a better walking motion as we go. The boys are just walking through the forest right now. Great. By the way, you can resize the keyframing area. And I didn't really explain what keyframing was. Don't worry, I'll keep it short. Keyframing in Premiere Pro is a technique used to create motion or animate effects within a video clip or audio track. By setting keyframes at specific points in time, editors can define parameters, position, scale, opacity, and rotation, allowing for smooth transitions and dynamic movements. There are markers that indicate the starting and end points of an effect or change. We're just doing the basic, most basic possible stuff to just give you an intro on how keyframing works. This stuff also works on text in Premiere Pro, which is great too. So now let's improve his movement and then we'll save a preset and use the same sort of movement on the other guys as well. Okay, this is gonna be great. This is so fun. I love doing this. Okay, so I forgot to click on rotation. I should have clicked on rotation before, but I did not. So we're gonna click on rotation now because he's back at the beginning. So let's move him to about right here and we'll do about 2 on the rotation and then we'll move him a couple more frames over and then we will reset the rotation keyframe by hitting this circular arrow right here. And as you can see, it dropped a keyframe automatically. You can also move through the timeline up here as well. Move a couple frames out. We'll do keyframe. I'm going to hold Control and increase the keyframe about 2 or 2.1. And then we're going to keyframe ahead. And then we're going to go back to our rotation line here. Reset the keyframe by hitting this circular arrow. Go a little bit more. Hold Shift. If it's not the exact same every time, it'll probably be a little bit better. Take it to 2. Advance a little bit. Reset. Advance a little bit. Now let's go left a little bit. Just because walking is never perfect. We'll do about 1.1, advance a little bit, reset, hold Control. I know it's kind of hard to see there. 1.7, advance a little bit, reset. Let's see how that looks so far. Okay, it's subtle, but I think it works. And then we're gonna go 2. Whoops, that's too much. Control Z. Actually, let's just use the keyboard. -2, advance a few frames, reset it. Advance a few frames, -2, hitting down on the keyboard, advance, reset, advance, -2, advance, reset, advance, -2, advance, reset, advance, +2, advance, reset, advance, +2, advance, reset. Okay, at that point, he's at the edge of the picture, so there we go. A nice subtle movement. And it even changes at the right time. Might have to do something about this rock. Might have to make that rock go in front. Okay, so let's grab all those keyframes, highlight them. They will turn blue. Right click, let's do ease out. This will make for a smoother animation. We're gonna right click again and ease in. That is temporal interpolation. Yeah, that's much smoother. Okay, good. So I'm gonna have to figure out something to do with this rock right here. I'll have to put that in the foreground later. That's gonna be hard to do. Now we've got the walking animation figured out. We're gonna save that as a preset as well. So the only thing we changed was the motion here. So we're gonna click on motion, right click, save preset, walking animation. Oops, this is getting fun. Okay, here we go. Now let's pull Theo into the picture. Right here, we're gonna extend him the same length that we did Joe. So his layer is now highlighted. Make sure it's clicked. Go to effects. We're gonna type in walking. This is the preset that we just saved. We're gonna pull that onto him and see if it should put them right on top of each other, but we can adjust that later. Okay, perfect. Having them start out like that is fine. Now we're gonna go click back into our project panel. And we've got one more, Shane. We're gonna pull him up to the top and extend his PNG down to where Joe and Theo are. And again, we're gonna head back to effects. Walking animation is already highlit. Pull that over onto him. So it adjusted the size, the keyframes. I think that's it. So they should be all stacked one on top of the other. So let's see how that looks. We're gonna separate them eventually. Shane is on top because he's the last one that I added in. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so much fun. I think we can cheat this a little bit just by fudging the PNGs back in time a little bit. So this is our Joe layer right here we're working with. Let's just turn off the Shane layer just to keep confusion low. This is our Joe layer that's highlight right now. We're gonna click on our Theo layer. Just bump him up in time a little bit. Let's put him on 123. He's on 123. So let's test that and see how it looks. Yes, yes, beautiful cuz. That looks great. This is so much fun. I love doing this. He was 123. So now let's toggle visibility on for Shane and let's pull him about roughly the same area. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. In fact, it probably will look a little bit more natural if the timing is a bit different. So let's pull him back right there. They should come out one after the other. 1, 2. I'm so happy this worked. 3. We are going to have to do something about that rock. That's going to be a real pain. We might have to do that later though, because this is taking a long time. This project's already going to be 20 minutes. It's like he's still telling jokes. Beautiful. First of all, we want to make them stand out from the background as much as possible. So we're going to go ahead and click on our enlarged forest layer. We're going to go to effects. We're going to go Gaussian Blur. Just type in Gaussian, and we're going to grab Gaussian Blur from the bottom here from the effects panel, and we're going to pull that onto our enlarged forest. Here is your selection inside of the effects control panel. You can do horizontal. Let's see how just horizontal looks first, and then the blurriness you can adjust. That's going to make them stand out a bit. That's probably too high. Yep, that's too high. Let's just put it down to about, that may even be a little bit too high. I'm going to adjust it more precisely, more granularly by holding control. We just want them to stand out more than the background, just enough. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Thea's just kind of standing in space, but that's okay. He looks like he's kind of standing behind them. We're going to go to the left one more time. Actually, let's advance this until they're all 3 on screen. Let's work with making them stand out even more. Drop shadow in the effects controls. Let's just work on Joe first. Let's turn the other guys off so we can clearly see Joe. It's right in the middle here. So drop shadow. So when I'm working with drop shadow, I always like to turn opacity up to the maximum. I always like to turn the distance way up so I can actually see the shadow clearly. Okay, as we can see here, it looks like the sun is coming in from behind them. So it doesn't really make sense to have the shadow at that angle. So let's change direction. It doesn't really make sense at all, but we're gonna need something to make them stand out a little bit more. It kind of makes sense there. So our angle's at 202. It's just gonna be a very subtle shadow. Let's bring the distance down as low as possible. And then let's hold control to be more precise, bring opacity down. And then let's bring the softness up, holding control. Is this black? Why does it look gray? Let's bring it down, softness a little bit higher. Let's see if that works to make him stand out a little bit. I'm okay with it. We're gonna use this a lot. We're gonna save that as a preset. Drop shadow, we're gonna click on that, right click, save preset as Joe drop, hit OK. Then we're going to uncover our other layers. Let's put this right in the middle. Make sure our other 2 layers are selected. And then we're gonna go Joe drop in the effects panel. Here it is, our preset that we just saved. Pull that onto the other 2 boys. Okay, Now let's see how it works. We're gonna deal with that rock right now. We're gonna click on our background layer. We're gonna hold Alt and drag it up. Okay, so now we've got 2 layers. Let's clear off, turn the visibility off for our boys, and we're just gonna work with this right now. So right now we've got 2 layers. See, I'm turning one off and on right now. But the only thing we really want to show is this rock in the top layer. I don't know how this is gonna work. I'm kind of scared. Shoot, we're gonna have to keyframe this whole thing. Okay, let's go back into Photoshop. This is gonna get very confusing very quickly, but I'm gonna try and keep it as concise and educational as I can, but you can do it. Okay, let's go back into our forest project. That's our beautiful forest. Oh, and that's our rock right there. So we flipped it. So let's do edit, transform, flip horizontal. Okay, so we're gonna click on our full image right here. Remember, we just flipped it when we got to Photoshop. We're gonna right click. We're gonna go to duplicate layer just in case there are any mistakes. Then we've got this one down below we can work with. Try and keep this as simple as possible. We're gonna scroll up on the mouse wheel. We're gonna do this in the most simple way possible. Hit the eraser tool. That's nice and big. Use the parentheses button to get it big. And we're just gonna start erasing. All we want in this image is that rock right there. You see that rock right here? Make that a little bit bigger. All we want is that rock, and we want to preserve its beautiful position right there. Preserve its position, get rid of everything else. This is gonna serve as our foreground in the animation. So we're gonna scroll on our mouse wheel. We're getting rid of all this. I didn't realize this was gonna be this difficult. Animations are always more difficult than you think. Always, every time. Perfect. Okay, so we've preserved our position. That's very important. Otherwise, it gets crazy with the keyframes. We're gonna do File, Export As, export this as a PNG, export. We're gonna call this Foreground Rock. Okay, save as, Foreground Rock. Close Photoshop. Okay, I'm scared. Let's get rid of that second layer, the one we duplicated. Let's go down to our project area, right click, import, foreground rock. Now let's see what happens when I pull this in. Let's see if it's even close. Okay, let's see where it is. Where did you end up? Okay, let's give it the same treatment we gave our forest background. We're gonna click on our rock. We're going to extend it all the way out to the end. Whoops, that's too far. We're gonna extend it just as far as our forest layer. Perfect. Now, what did we do before? We saved a preset with what we did before. Now I just have to remember what I called it. Forest and volcano motion. We're good. Okay, so let's put forest and volcano motion is the preset we made earlier. So we're gonna click on forest and volcano motion. We're gonna pull that onto our foreground rock and see if it works. Oh, please work, please work. That actually might work. And we can even add a drop shadow to it. Save it, because sometimes my computer crashes with all this stuff. Unclick the eyeballs. Look at that. Please work, please work. It's kind of doing some funny dancing, but I think that's the rendering. Oh, guess what? That has to go in front of our boys. So we're gonna make sure our rock layer is highlighted. Hold shift so it doesn't shimmy back and forth or accidentally go a couple frames forward or back. Make sure you hold shift, and we're gonna pull that up to the top. Oh my, I think it's actually gonna work. I'm excited. I've never done this style of thing before. Okay, you can already see our rock. Yes, the preset saved us, boys. Yes. Wow. Wow. I just discovered something about animation. We might have to add more foreground stuff later. Wow. Okay, let's try and add a drop shadow. Let's just use the boys drop shadow here. What did I call it? Joe drop? Joe drop. Let's add that to, oh, it needs a little bit more opacity. So we're gonna hold shift and bring the opacity up a little bit. Let's holding control. Let's just put it on 100. That's too much. Let's bring it down, and distance, bring that down. So that gives it a little bit more girth. Actually, let's see if we can add a little bit of glow to that rock. Glow in the effects panel. Alpha glow, bring that onto him. That's so sick. Okay, what color of glow are we gonna do? White? Let's turn the glow down. We're not gonna be able to get into the story yet in this video. We'll have to save that for the next one. Okay, so let's make the rock glow. We're gonna go over here to the effects panel and grab alpha glow, bring that onto our rock. We're gonna bring our glow down to 0 by typing that 0. We're gonna make sure our color is white, and then we're gonna hit the stopwatch next to glow, and then we're gonna hit down, and then we're gonna go back 1 frame. By the time it gets to the end here, we want the glow to be maximum. Let's see here. Let's see how it looks. So it's glowing. It's glowing. They don't notice it at first. So that's our story beginning. Let's do the glow is up, move forward a few frames. The glow goes down a bit, a few more frames. It's just making the keyframes automatically as I go through here. We're gonna make the glow go way up. And then by the time they're here, glow goes down. And by the time they're here, glow goes maximum. So let's see how that looks. So it's kind of pulsating. Yes, that looks cool. Okay, we're gonna click all of those glow layers and do right click ease in and then right click ease out just for more smoothness. Let's check it out, see how it does. That looks sick. Okay, great. Put that on repeat while I'm wrapping this up. Thank you very much for being here. I'm still in the process of learning how to do animation. If you want to learn more about generative fill or Photoshop or Premiere Pro, go ahead and check out one of these other videos. I'd really appreciate it if you would also leave a like. And if you want to join my Discord, you can do that too. Bye. Okay, we're going to stop recording on the phone.